Hey there, Allie here. Today I'm going to do a little DIY tutorial on making some Christmas garland. These I thought would be really great because they're super simple, they are pretty inexpensive, and they're just really cute and fun and could decorate your home or even your Christmas tree. The first garland I'm going to show you today is a pom-pom snowflake garland. This is definitely the easiest of all of the garlands, I would say, as well as probably the most inexpensive. And for this, you will just need some white pom-poms. I got two different sizes to sort of mix things up a little bit. I'm sure you could even find some larger ones or even tinier ones. I just was worried about anything smaller than this might be difficult to thread your yarn through, so I chose these two sizes. And you'll also need some yarn. You could do any color yarn. If you wanted, you could do like a contrasting color, a different Christmas color. I wanted to do just white to make it really pure, snowy, white, beautiful. So I'm going to use white yarn for this. First I'm going to open up my yarn. You will also need needles, and you want to get sort of a thicker, like a big needle that has a big eye in it that will fit the yarn through, or even they have these plastic yarn needles, which these ones are in really old packaging because they came in like an old sewing kit that I got somewhere. So these ones are incredibly old, but I'm going to try these ones out to see if they work with the pom. String your yarn through the eye of the needle, which can be a little bit tricky. If you have a little tool like this, a little threader, you can kind of pop this through and then hook your yarn on. Let's see if I can do this. And then pull your yarn through. That makes it a little bit easier. And you just want to leave a little bit hanging over. And now you are all set with your yarn and your needle. You have these two sized pom-poms. And you can either do it in a pattern, you can do it random, however you want to do it. You simply take your needle, you push it through the middle of the little pom-pom, so it really grabs on there, and then you simply slide it on. Don't let this little guy come off, hold that, and slide it down. And then you can just leave this on so that you can decide how long you want it to be, or you can pre-measure it and just cut your yarn free and just make this go as far as you want. And then you just keep going. Keep going with that until you get the desired length that you are wanting. And then you will have this really cute pom-pom snowflake garland, which I think would be really adorable on a Christmas tree, like wrapped around and through a Christmas tree, or even sort of hanging like in front of a really large mirror or in front of your windows if you did like 3 layers of them, something like that. So simple, so adorable, and really, really inexpensive holiday decoration. For the next garland, it is a similar one to the snowflake pom-pom, but we'll be making our own pom-poms out of yarn. The nice thing about this type of garland and making your own pom-poms is that you can choose really any color. I find that at the craft store, pom-poms sort of come in a limited amount of colors, whereas making your own pom-poms out of yarn, you can choose any really color under the sun, as well as texture. If you want just a normal yarn pom-pom, you can get like a thicker yarn, you can get something with some sparkle in it. So there's a lot more that you can do when you're making your own pom-poms. So for this pom-pom, I decided to get red yarn and gray yarn and the white yarn that I was using for the snowflake pom-poms. To make the pom-poms, you need to start with your yarn and take your fork and simply start wrapping. So in order to make the pom-poms, you have to wrap quite a lot of yarn. So just keep wrapping, 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 wrapping. It needs to be pretty thick and full until it looks about like that. Sort of see how thick that is. And then you're simply going to cut your yarn, make sure to hold your pieces, and you'll want to cut, you can set your fork down, you're gonna want to cut a length of yarn, about like that. You're going to slide this piece through your fork, and I think personally that it's actually easier if you do this part first and kind of balance this in there before you wrap, but it doesn't really matter. Once you get your length of yarn through your fork, the middle tine of the fork, you're going to tie it at the top. Tie it nice and tight, pull it down, tie it in a knot, like so, and then simply slide your little pom-pom off of the fork, like this, and you'll have a little bundle. Your next step is to take your scissors and sort of feed it through where the loops are. You'll have two sides with loops, and you're gonna feed it into where the loops are and start snipping. Snip. And then you just want to even it out. So you want to make kind of smush it all out like that. And then you want to cut all the sort of ones that are sticking out. This, trim, give them a little tiny haircut. I feel like I'm giving Elmo a haircut right now or something, kind of weird. And there you have it, a little tiny pom-pom. So then you just have to do this about a million more times with your different colors. Once you've made all of your little pom-poms, your yarn pom-poms, and trimmed them all down so that they're pretty uniform, then you just simply choose which yarn color you want to do to string them on. I'm going to choose red. You do the exact same thing you did with the snowball garland, and you can do them in a pattern or however you want. I'm going to do gray, white, and then red, and then do an, and there you have it. Some festive little Christmas garland. Clearly you could do this for any event, just depending on what colors you chose. But I think this will go really nicely with the snowflake garland or snowball garland that I also made, and I'm thinking of maybe layering these in together to put either on my tree or possibly hanging in front of one of my mirrors that are in my living room, to add a little extra holiday touch. For my next garland, I'm going to do a chalkboard bunting using these little wooden triangles that already have holes drilled in them. I found these at a craft store actually quite a while ago, and I saw them and just knew I had to buy them for something. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with them yet, but I decided that I would paint them with some chalkboard paint and cure them with chalk so that I could use them year-round and write all sorts of messages on them. I bought quite a few of them because I wasn't sure what type of message or saying I was going to put on them or what I was going to actually use them for, so I have a lot of these. But I think for Christmas and for Christmas decorations, I think I'm just going to keep it pretty simple and maybe go with something like Xmas with some little cute little Christmas trees or a snowflake, and we'll see what I decide to write on these after we paint them and cure them with chalk. Now you could paint both sides of these so that you could hang them in a place where both sides were visible. However, I think for the sake of time, I'm just going to paint one side and make sure that I get the edges covered so that when it's laying up against the wall or against something you don't see the wooden part. So I'm just going to paint the front and the sides of this. This is just Craft Smart brand chalkboard paint that I got from Michael's, and it was, I believe, under $2. I think it was like $1.49. They have more expensive brands. Martha Stewart obviously carries a line of chalkboard paints in different colors, which are really fun, but I think for a project this small, when I'm painting something this small, the type of paint doesn't really matter, and I wanted classic black anyway, so this worked out perfectly. And you just want to give it a little shake and use your sponge brush, which is also really inexpensive. This, I think, is like 49 cents, so I usually, even though I have a ton of them, I end up buying a new one anytime I go to the craft store because I inevitably leave paint on them and they dry out. So I'm just going to squeeze a little bit of this on to my little wooden chip board and simply spread it around and go as close as I can to my fingertips without actually painting my fingertips. I'll set it down here and finish. Smooth that out a little bit. And I'm gonna have to let that dry a little bit before I can finish that last edge because I don't really want to get paint all over, although if I was in my normal crafting scenario, I would probably have it all over my hands already. So once you do one, you just keep going until you finish all of them. Once your paint has dried all the way, you need to cure. I believe they call it curing the chalkboard paint, which means you simply take a piece of chalk, white chalk, and rub it. Oh, that sound is really horrible. Rub it all over on its side, sort of like this, so that you completely cover your chalk. And then just take an eraser if you have a chalkboard eraser, or just a towel, paper towel, or a cloth towel, and wipe off all of the chalk. And it sort of leaves a little bit of chalk on there, and this is called curing your chalkboard paint, so that I'm actually not sure why you do this. It's just that something I learned from all the other DIY things that I've ever looked at when making chalkboards. It says that that's a really important step, so I make sure I do it, and then they're ready for you to write on. And I didn't say this before, but because I bought these a while ago, I'm not exactly sure if stores would still carry them. I'll try to find a link to them maybe online somewhere. However, if you couldn't find these are pretty simple to make simply by getting a piece of board. This is called basswood, I believe, or yeah, basswood board that you can buy at craft stores, and you just get the thinnest piece that you can. You can simply use a stencil or measure out the shapes that you want and use like an X-Acto knife, something like this, some sort of blade, to cut out your shapes, and then you could use a little drill to drill the holes in the corner if you weren't able to find the actual pre-cut little chipboard ones. So it is possible to do it even if I can't find a link for these somewhere else. There is a way to do it even more DIY than I've done it. So now I'm gonna figure out what to write on my little things. I think I'm just gonna do really simple. Penmanship is not my strong suit unless I am copying something. I can't do my own fun handwriting. It's just not my forte. The next step is to decide what you're going to string these on. You could obviously use the yarn that you were using before, or I really like the idea of a cute little baker's twine, which is like a color and a white string twisted together. I think that red and classic like red and white baker's twine would be really cute with this. I didn't have any of that, but I had a bunch of other color selection. So I just picked this little light kind of minty green. I thought that would bring in some green since I don't have any green in any of my stuff that I've made this evening. So I'm gonna just use the green. I'm gonna string these on. And last but not least, you may actually want to string these before you write on them so that you don't mess up. But there you have it. Adorable little Christmas sign. Christmas. I hope you give it a try and comment letting me know what you think of these DIY projects. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and have a very happy holiday. See you next time.